بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين المظلومين صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. For the love of Fatima al-Zahra, please recite aloud salawat. When you Google the word Shia and go to the images section, the first pictures that you will see is of people mourning Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, sobbing, wailing, beating their chests, perhaps visiting his shrine and performing these rituals and practices. And if Google doesn't tamper with the search engine, then this is what people search and look for. Because there is this strong link between Shi'ism and these rituals, between Shia Islam and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. There is this association between the two. We are identified through Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So when people from other faiths and religions, they hear the word Shia, the impression that they have of Shia Islam and Shias is the people that beat their chest and cry for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam because of that link between the two. Now the question that I would like to address as an introduction for tonight's speech, and tonight is by far the most important night from all the other nights compared to all the other nights during this program, because an atmosphere is created, and in this atmosphere we feel as if Imam al-Hussein is going to get killed tomorrow, as if the day of Ashura will happen tomorrow, so we will relive the saga tomorrow. This night is an important night. This is why we have narrations that say that if you visit Imam al-Hussein on the eve of Ashura, like tonight, spend the night in Karbala, and then visit Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura, it's like being with Imam al-Hussein on the real day of Ashura and joining his camp and getting killed on that day. This is why some scholars argue that maybe the visitation of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura is more important than any other visitation. When you compare with other visitations, the wording used in describing the significance of this ziyarah is much more powerful than any other ziyarah. So the question that I would like to address is that we have two versions of Islam. You have one version void of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Yes, people pray, people go to Hajj, people recite the Quran, but there is no mention of Imam al-Hussein. Or even if there is, Imam al-Hussein is not part of their faith, not part of their religion. On the other hand, you have this other version of Islam where Imam al-Hussein is central to our belief system. We revolve around the name of Hussein. And our religion revolves around Imam al-Hussein and the remembrance of Imam al-Hussein and holding these rituals and performing these practices. And brothers and sisters, do not belittle these practices and these rituals. Why? Because this is the connection. This is what connects us with Imam al-Hussein. Yes, through sobbing, through wailing, through beating our chests, through these practices and rituals. This is why they're called sha'air. They remind you of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. They connect you with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, وَالْبُدْنَ جَعَلْنَاهَا مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ. The sheep that you drag with you when you go to Hajj. They used to do this before. Some people do it in this day and age as well, but it's rare. But the Quran speaks about it. You drag a sheep with you while wearing ihram to slaughter that sheep. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this is part of the sha'air. Why? Because it reminds people when they see someone wearing ihram, dragging a sheep with him, they are reminded of Hajj. And when you are reminded of Hajj, you are reminded of the Kaaba. When you are reminded of the Kaaba, you are reminded of Ibrahim and his sacrifices and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's an indirect link to God. While with Hussein alayhi salam, it's only one step. When you see these practices, these rituals, these commemorations, you are reminded of Hussein, and Hussein reminds you of God straight away. This is why these practices are important. Do not belittle them. This is the link between us and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So you see two forms, two versions of Islam being portrayed. The Islam void of Hussein, the Islam where Hussein is the center of it, is the pivot of it. The question is that these practices, these rituals, are these alien to Islam or do they originate in Islam? I mean, before, did we have these practices? Can we find the roots of these practices in the Quran, in the religion of Islam? Or there is no association between the two? These are practices that we innovated with time. And the second question is, what do we benefit? What's the benefit of coming, crying, sobbing? We can't make any amendments to history. Imam al-Hussein was killed and he is with God and he is in paradise right now. We come here to cry for what? What's the purpose? What's the reason? Now, to address the first question, we need to look at the life of the people before Islam. During the time of the Jahiliyyah, people were living in an abyss of darkness and ignorance and immorality and immodesty. Imagine, women used to brag about infidelity, used to boast about cheating on their husbands and committing adultery and fornication. Furthermore, every woman that used to commit adultery 100 times, she would put a flag on the roof of her house, bragging about her achievement. Some women, especially from the Umayyad tribe, used to put tens of flags on their house. Tens of flags. And each flag resembles 100 acts of adultery. Or, one of the practices that was widely common was a form of quote-unquote marriage. A woman would become intimate with 10 men together. And then she becomes pregnant. She gets to choose the father, not through DNA testing, but she chooses the father based on his wealth, based on his looks. And we have prominent figures in history like Amr ibn al-As, like Ziyad ibn Abih, the father of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, who were a product of this marriage. 10 people participate in his conception. Now, this was a widely common practice during the time of the Jahiliyyah. Or for example, a man was able to marry as many wives as he could afford. If he was wealthy, he was able to marry 600 wives. But women were degraded in the society. Women were regarded as subhumans. Women were a commodity to satisfy the pleasures of men. So if this man, if this husband ever felt threatened, if there was another tribe that wanted to attack, he would butcher all his wives out of fear of them being enslaved. And this would bring dishonor and shame onto him. Their means of survival during the time of Jahiliyyah, it was the mentality of dog eat dog prevailed. It was like living in a jungle. People couldn't sleep at night out of fear of being attacked by another tribe or another nation or another army. Their means of survival was by attacking other tribes and looting their possessions, stealing what they had. Some of the rituals that they had was performing tawaf around the Kaaba while they were naked, while they rejoiced and clapped naked doing tawaf. They worshipped idols. They were pagans. And the idols were made by them. Some of the idols were made from food, like dates. So in the morning, they worship the idol, they pray to the idol, but when they get hungry at night, they would eat their Lord. They would eat their idol that they created with their own hands. So there was no security, no prosperity, no values whatsoever. Vice was the hallmark of their society. Now, the Prophet then came. When the Prophet came, he changed everything. He brought about major and drastic changes in the society, turning these vile animals into civil human beings. You know what the Prophet did? He changed the behavior of an entire nation. He changed their ideologies. He changed their belief system. He changed their norms. He changed their culture. He changed their mindset in less than 23 years. Just to get a glimpse of the magnitude of the Prophet's accomplishment, see how difficult it is to raise a child in this day and age, in the 21st century. Our children receive the best education, but how difficult it is to raise a child in this society. Even though your child is raised in a closed environment under your direct influence, but could you really influence him? Could you really change the culture, the habits, the mindset, the ideology of your child? Could you change his behavior? We have little influence on our children. Even though this is not the topic that I would like to discuss, but when we want to raise our children, there are three main guidelines that we need to follow according to our religion. The first guideline is a guideline of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. I remember a couple of years ago I met a professor in Canada, in Vancouver. This was his field of expertise. So he was telling me that we conducted a lot of studies. And we realized that there are children that have creativity. They have creative minds. While we realize that there are children that have no creativity whatsoever. So upon conducting studies and research, we found out that the children that have creativity and creative minds, the way that they were raised was different from the way the children with no creativity were raised. How were the first group raised? Their parents did not use do's and don'ts to raise them. They allowed them to be free, especially when they are very young. Free to do whatever they want. And not only that, you see the world from their lens. Man kana lahu. The hadith says that if you have a child, a baby, try to act like a child, to play with that child. He should be the boss. He should be the chief in the house. While the other group, no. It was a set of do's and don'ts. This is why their mind is restricted. They can't maximize the benefit of their mind and maximize their potential. While the first group, no. They can use their mind and intellect differently. So I said to him, before you conducted this study, 14 centuries ago, the commander, the faithful said, Al-waladu sayyidun sab'a. For the first 7 years, your child is the chief. He's the boss. Not only he's free to do whatever he wants, of course, you create the right environment, you're a good role model, but he's the boss. You should receive the orders from him. He's the chief. He's the master, according to the words of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, for the first 7 years. But for the second 7 years, no. It's the time to discipline the child. Yes, do's and don'ts. His mind is developed. But now it's time for him to receive the guidance to learn for the second 7 years. When he turns 14, it's time for the child to be a friend of his parent. This is something that many parents fail to do. You should befriend your child. You should befriend your daughter. Yes, the hadith says that they become your advisor. You consult them, they consult you to gain their trust. For the third 7 years, you are responsible for your child for 21 years, not 18, according to our religious teachings. For 21 years, you are responsible for your child, and you will be held accountable for your shortcomings towards your children. Then Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says in another hadith that after 21 years, if you fulfilled your duty towards your children, if that child turns out to be a good child, a good person, then well done. But if he or she turns out to be a bad person, God forbid, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will excuse you because you have done what you had to do. So this is the guideline from Amir al-Mu'mineen. The second guideline is the halal food that you feed your children with. If they consume haram food, whether it's haram as in haram meat, or it's haram in the sense that the source of the food was illegitimate, from illegitimate means, no matter what you do, a barrier will be created between the child and his faith. This is why Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura, he started to admonish the army. He wanted to reason with them. He wanted to speak with them. Shimr said, "What are you saying, O son of Fatima? We don't understand what you're saying." The Imam said, "Yes. مُلِئَتْ بُطُونُكُمْ الْحَرَامِ. It's because your stomach was filled with the haram. This is why you don't understand anymore." That's the second guideline. The third guideline is the relationship between the father and the mother. You can only acquire and attain their confidence, their trust, when they see you treat your wife with manners, with ethics. When they see the mother treat the husband respectfully, this will be reflected on the child and the child's behavior. So it's a challenge to raise a child in the 21st century, right? Imagine 14 centuries ago, a bunch of nomads, a bunch of vile animals. The Prophet brought about major and drastic changes in the society. He turned it into a utopian society. He was able to uproot, for example, and this is just an example, uproot racism. Even though back then people of color were disrespected. Slaves had no rights whatsoever. You could kill your slave and get away with it. No one will punish you. What did the Prophet do? The first thing, one of the first things that the Prophet did after he opened Mecca, he appointed Bilal al-Habashi, the African black Ethiopian slave, after freeing him, of course. He appointed him as the spokesperson for Islam, the face of religion. And he told him to climb on the Kaaba and recite the Adhan. Abu Sufyan said, "I wish if I was dead." This was so difficult for him to see Bilal al-Habashi become the spokesperson for Islam. And Bilal couldn't pronounce some of the words. For example, instead of saying, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah," he used to say, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah." But the Prophet said that his S is a sheen عند Allah. It's like saying, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah." Or for example, one day during building the mosque, the Grand Mosque of Medina, there was a little fight between Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, who was an Arab, from a respected tribe, between him and Bilal al-Habashi. So Abu Dharr al-Ghifari disrespected Bilal al-Habashi. He said something negative about his ethnicity. The Prophet frowned. The Prophet didn't like it. The Prophet wouldn't impose on the people anything. No, no. The Prophet infused people's hearts. They were content. They were pleased with what he was offering to them. The Prophet frowned, meaning that he's bothered. He's irritated by these remarks. Even if it's Abu Dharr, a close companion of the Prophet. But the Prophet doesn't welcome these remarks. So Abu Dharr realized that he crossed the red line. So he asked Bilal for forgiveness. But the Prophet wasn't content. It wasn't good enough. So he begged Bilal to place his foot on his face and rub it against the floor with all the dust, with all the dirt. And he began to rub it and rub it and rub it. And eventually the facial expressions of Rasulullah changed. The frown faded from his face. That's when he realized that the Prophet is now pleased with him. So he uprooted all the evils from the society and turned it into a utopian society. People possessed qualities. People respected women. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse upon the Prophet saying that women are created, are just like you men. This is why women are not inferior to men and men are not superior to women. According to the Islamic values, children should be respected. During the time of the Jahiliyyah, people used to bury their daughters. Now you have to respect them. It's haram. These are red lines that you could never cross. The people that witnessed both of these eras, before and after Islam, they appreciated the efforts of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam very much. So one day, after the Prophet had established justice, established his government, they came together and they said, look, Rasulullah exerted all his effort to make these great accomplishments. It is time for us, because we feel we are indebted to him, we owe our life to him, we owe our prosperity to him, everything is because of him. It is time to remunerate the Prophet. It is time to compensate and to reward the Prophet. What should we give to the Prophet? They decided to give half of all their assets to Rasulullah. And you know, with money, it's not easy to give money because we're attached to our wealth. We are attached to money. Unless if it has to do with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. With Imam al-Hussein, because he gave everything, you see the people in Arba'in, people save up the whole year. Anything they accumulate, they spend during the ziyarah of Arba'in. Why? Because Imam al-Hussein is an inspiration. With Imam al-Hussein, everything becomes worthless. Money is nothing. That's why people give. A friend of mine who I trust called me the other day. He was telling me about a mosque that he wants to expand in a holy city. It's the main mosque in that city, and during Muharram they hold majalis. So he was telling me that we need $30,000 to expand this mosque and to renovate it. I said to him, look, because it belongs to Imam al-Hussein, it's a house that belongs to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, this should be a piece of cake. Because with Imam al-Hussein, you know, we see things differently. I remember a couple of years ago, my uncle said that during the ziyarah, during the Arba'in, people come to visit the scholar. He's a marja in Karbala. They come and visit him. So he said it was before midnight when all the visitors came and then they left. So I asked the people that work in the office, is there anyone else waiting? They said, yes, there's this Indian or Pakistani guy, he's waiting outside, he wants to see you. So I said, let him in. So he came inside. I said to him, where are you from? He said, from Pakistan. I said to him, mashallah, so you came here for a visit? He said, yes, I want to visit Imam al-Hussein. So my uncle said to him, so what do you do? What do you like? What's your occupation? He said, I am the interior minister of Pakistan. So I said to him that, where are your bodyguards, the entourage, the bulletproof vests, the bulletproof cars? He said, look, the Iraqi government, they provided all of that. But I said to them that you're staying in Najaf, you're not coming with me, because I am walking to Karbala as a slave. I'm a slave of Aba Abdullah. Abduka wa ibnu abdika wa ibnu amatik. Nothing, I'm not worth anything when you stand in front of the Darih of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. That's why contributing in the cause of Abu Abdullah is very valuable, because this is the divine project of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was this businessman, originally from Isfahan. A group of people came to visit him to ask him for money to donate to buy a Husayniyya in the proximity of the shrine of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So they came to him, they said, we need money. He said, how much do you need? Write it down on this checkbook. So they wrote down the amount that they need. And so this businessman, without wearing his glasses, he signed the check. So they said to him, don't you want to see the amount? He said, with projects that pertain to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, I don't wear glasses. This guy died a couple of months later. A scholar sees him in his dream. He said to him, so could you tell us more about your experience with death and what happened after death? He said, yes. I was placed in the grave and the two angels came and they wanted to question me. But all the papers were there, all the documents were there, all my deeds and actions were recorded in my file. But they signed the papers without probing into my actions. I said, why? How? They said, because you didn't put on glasses. For Imam al-Hussein's causes, we don't put glasses, we don't probe into your actions and deeds. Imam al-Hussein is an exception. Imam al-Hussein is an exception. This is why I encourage the brothers and sisters, for the cause of Imam al-Hussein, do not hesitate. Do not hesitate. So we go back to the story of the Prophet. They said, let's give him half of our wealth, half of what we have. Then they came the next day, bringing all their money, their livestock, and deciding to, give the Prophet their houses. But then they said, we owe our life to the Prophet. Our prosperity, he restored security, and our wealth is, the security is the bedrock of the society. So everything is because of the Prophet. So half is nothing. We should give all our money to the Prophet. All our assets, everything that we have, we give to the Prophet. The moment they decided to give everything to the Prophet, a verse was revealed saying, Ya Rasulullah, tell your people that I do not need a reward from you. I do not need a reward from you. I did not come here to benefit from you. And brothers and sisters, even though the Prophet used to receive a lot of money, but he never used his money and he never benefited from this money for his own sake and the sake of his family members. Never. Sometimes he used to come to his daughter Fatima. Imagine, he's a king. He's a ruler. People have pledged their allegiance to him. People believe in his prophethood. And if he orders them to do something, they are obliged to listen and to fulfill the wishes of Rasulullah. He would come to his daughter saying, Bunayya Fatima, it's been 3 days that I haven't had anything to eat. He would sometimes put a rock on his stomach so that the movement of the stomach is restricted so he doesn't feel the hunger. Imam Ali alayhi salam, when the Prophet died, he died while he was in debt. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, although people used to give a lot of money to the Prophet, but he used to distribute it amongst the needy. And we, the progeny, the family, the daughter, the son-in-law, the grandchildren of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to live in houses with no roofs, no blankets, no mattresses, no nothing. A man once comes to the Prophet, to the mosque of the Prophet. He says to him, Ya Rasulullah, I'm a visitor here and I'm a guest. Is there anyone willing to host me? The Prophet waited for his companions to volunteer. No one volunteered. Imam Ali then stood up and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I can host you. So he goes to his house. It was in the evening. He says to Fatima al-Zahra, do we have any food left? She said, it's been 3 days we don't have any food. Ya Fatima, why don't you tell me? She said, because my father said not to put any pressure on you. but we have a little bit of food that I saved for Imam al-Hassan and Hussein. He said, Fatima, put them to sleep and bring this food so we can give to this guest. So the Imam goes and he turns off the lantern and pretends as if he's eating with him while he wasn't eating anything, so the guests could eat from that food. Poverty, they lived like a peasant, all of them. Fatima al-Zahra, who was a princess, the mistress of the ladies of the world. No food, no money, no nothing. All she had was one dress. One dress. The Prophet came when she got married to Amir al-Mu'mineen. All he saw was a bed that was made from dust. A bed that was made from dust. And 2 pots made from clay. And a house that Ali built with his own hands from clay. So the Prophet said, بُورِكَ لِأَهْلِ بَيْتٍ جُلُّ أَوَانِيهِمْ مِنْ خَزَفٍ. This is a house that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses. You see all the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them, their children, their lineage. This is all because of their modest lifestyle. That's what the Prophet is saying. So I don't want a reward from you. God is telling the Prophet, I don't want any reward from you. إلا المودة إلا المودة. You know the verse, right? في القربى. The only reward that I want from you is to have love and affection for my family members, for my progeny. This changes the equation, brothers and sisters. Why? The Prophet saying that everything that I gave you, guidance, which is the most precious thing that we have, and the prosperity that comes with it in this life and in the afterlife, in exchange for what I gave you, the price that you need to give, the price of guidance, is having love and affection for my progeny. Brothers and sisters, this is why as Shias we revolve around the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, because according to the Quran, this is the essence of religion. In exchange for guidance, if you don't pay the price, you're not receiving guidance. Only when you pay the price, you get the guidance. In exchange for his guidance, you should have affection and love for the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. You should revolve around them. What does it entail to have love and affection for the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? You need to be with them. You need to revolve around them. These emotions, brothers and sisters, are holy emotions. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have human characteristics. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have human feelings and emotions. However, He created a creation. These are the cream of the crop of creation. He raised them, He disciplined them. The Prophet says, I was disciplined by God, and Ali was disciplined by me. Then He attributed their emotions to Himself, their feelings to Himself. When He said, Fatima becomes angry as if I have become angry. Otherwise, God doesn't become angry. If Fatima is pleased with someone, then I am pleased with that someone. These emotions are holy. These emotions are divine emotions. Let me give you a small example. The Prophet was mocked. Why? Saying that you pray towards Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. So Islam is just another version of Judaism and Christianity, because you face the same Qibla. And this created a barrier, preventing people from embracing Islam, saying if you want to embrace a religion, embrace Judaism and Christianity. Why do you have to convert to Islam? The Prophet was irritated, but he couldn't suggest to God to change the Qibla. No way. All he did was, when he left his house, he gazed into the sky, which is something a person would probably do if he's irritated. He's got something in his heart, but he can't say it. All of a sudden, a verse was revealed to the Prophet saying, قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ. We could see you gazing into the skies. We know what's wrong with you. فَلَنُوَلِّيَنَّكَ قِبْلَةً تَرْضَاهَا. We will direct you to a qibla that you please, that you want, that would satisfy you. And now today, we pray towards the qibla that pleases the Prophet. All the animals that are slaughtered should face the Qibla, the same Qibla. All the dead that are buried should face the same Qibla that pleases you, Ya Rasulullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I care about his emotions. This is why we come to this majalis. We express our condolences to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam because Husaynun minni. Husayn is from me and I'm from Husayn. Everything that happened to Husayn happened to Rasulullah. And this is a popular hadith. Everyone knows it's an authentic hadith. Husayn is part of me. But then the Quran was quick to say, مَا سَأَلْتُكُم مِّنْ أَجْرٍ فَهُوَ لَكُمْ. The reward that I'm asking you is for your own good. We're not benefiting Imam al-Hussein by attending these majalis. By crying on Imam al-Hussein, are we benefiting him? No, Imam al-Hussein is in paradise. Are we benefiting Fatima al-Zahra? No. But the Quran is saying this is for your own good. Bil-Husayni tas'udun, the Prophet said, you succeed and prosper through Hussein alayhi salam. Through Imam al-Hussein. This is the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by revolving around Imam al-Hussein. This is what gives us life, brothers and sisters. Imam al-Hussein is our lifeline. Istajibu lillah walirrasul idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. Respond to the Prophet. This will give life to your heart. This is why when we visit Imam al-Hussein on the 15th of Sha'ban, what do we say? We say, I bear witness that you did not die. You were killed, but you did not die. And through your life, all symptoms of life are present in Hussein. Look how he galvanizes millions of people. Imam al-Hussein has a government, but this government doesn't have any borders. Imam al-Hussein is so strong and powerful, but he doesn't have tanks and weapons. But he can galvanize millions of people. Look at the people that go to Arba'in, 20 million people. Despite the security situation in Iraq, they still go there. What inspires these people? Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. مَا سَأَلْتُكُم مِّنْ أَجْرٍ فَهُوَ لَكُمْ. Through Imam al-Hussein, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you life. He brings you back from the dead. Not biological death, but the death of the heart. بَلْ بِرَجَاءِ حَيَاتِكَ حَيَّتْ قُلُوبُ شِيعَتِكَ. This is why Imam al-Hussein is the ark of salvation. Yes, there is a flood, but not a literal flood. A different form of flood. The flood of deviation. You will all deviate unless if you board this ark. His son said, I will climb on a mountain, a huge mountain. He said, nothing can save you from this flood except if you board this ark. Except if you board the ark of Hussein, you will be saved from all the deviations of this world. بَلْ بِرَجَاءِ حَيَاتِكَ حَيَّتْ قُلُوبُ شِيعَتِكَ. As His Eminence Shaykh Shaywani explained, on the eve of the 10th of Muharram, Imam al-Hussein gathered his companions. He said to them that these people, they want to kill me. They have nothing to do with you guys. You can all leave. And he said, I will turn off the lantern so that you wouldn't feel ashamed to leave your Imam, to abandon me. Everyone, just leave me. You can all leave the Imam. And this is a message that is conveyed to you as well. Imam al-Hussein is not going to force anyone to join his ranks. You could leave the Imam and go. You could leave him. But if you want to be with him, if you want to enlist in his army, you know what it takes to be with him? You need to have the same qualities that his companions had that allowed them to be with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. I know it's difficult, I know it's hard, but do you want to be with Hussein? With the minority that were with Hussein? Or you want to leave him like everyone else? You could leave him like everyone else. Imam al-Hussein, when he gave that speech, as His Eminence mentioned, the first person to get up was Abu al-Fadl Abbas, who said, may we never live after you, O Abu Abdullah. Another man stood up. His name was Burayr. He said, لَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. God is doing us a favor that He is allowing us to get killed for you, O Abu Abdullah, and our limbs get severed for you, O Abu Abdullah. We thank Allah for giving us this opportunity. You see their approach? We thank Allah. He's not saying that, look, we're staying and we're helping you, and rubs it in his face. No, no, no. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity. Yes, he shows his gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the men, his name was Ali ibn Mudahir, the brother of Habib. He said to the Imam that I'll stay with you. A lot of people left. He said, I'm staying. But he wasn't willing to let his wife stay with the family of Imam al-Hussein. So the moment Imam al-Hussein finished his speech and everyone gave a little talk, he left the tent and he called his wife. He called her, she came, she said, I heard that, you had a conversation with Abu Abdullah. He said, yes, and you know what, I decided to stay and be with Hussein and get killed, but I want to divorce you and I want to send you back to your family. She said to him, you show solidarity with Hussein, and on the day of judgment you come and you can face Fatima al-Zahra with a luminous face, right? But you want me to abandon Zainab? And she hit her head against the pole of the tent, injuring herself. She said, Wallah, you show solidarity with the men, we show solidarity with the women. And this is a message that I have for all the sisters. You can abandon Zainab like everyone else, but if you want to be like the wife of Ali ibn Mudahir, she knew that by being with Zainab, she has to face a lot of challenges. The ordeal is immense. Brothers, sisters, I know observing your hijab is not easy. With all the bigotry, with all the Islamophobia, with all the hate, with all the discrimination, but wallah, God knows that it's difficult. Imam al-Hussein knows it's difficult to be with Zainab, to make the right choices in life, and to be in line with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and his message. It's difficult, but it's a chance for you to make that decision right now and enlist in his army. All it takes is a decision, a solemn vow to be with Imam al-Hussein and not to do anything that would separate you from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. There are things that can separate us from Imam al-Hussein. Like, for example, disrespecting our parents. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam was walking with one of his companions with his son. His son disrespected the father. So the Imam stopped talking to that boy, to that man, he was an adult, until the Imam died. Why? This would create this barrier between us and our Imams. What you need to do is, first of all, do and adopt the world view that the companions Imam al-Hussein had, which was belittling this world and everything in it. And do not feel sad if you lose something material in this world. وَلَا تَأْسَفَا عَلَى شَيْءٍ زُوِيَ مِنْهَا عَنْكُمَا يَا رَادَّ مَا قَدْ فَاتٍ. Everything that you lose, if you lose anything for God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate. Just like in the story of Ayub, وَرَدَدْنَا وَآتَيْنَاهُ أَهْلَهُ وَمِثْلَهُ مَعَهُم. We gave him back all the blessings that we had taken from him. Do you think Imam Hussein lost? Do you think his companions lost by leaving their assets, their money, their wealth, their houses, and joined Imam al-Hussein? No, why? Because the insight that they had allowed them to make such a decision. إِنَّمَا تَقْضِي هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. The Imam sent a letter saying that everything, all the pleasures and all the pains in this world are like a dream. Everything will come to an end. All these people that are indulging in all the pleasures and desires, it will come to an end one day. I don't want to take much of your time, but it's the night of Ashura. It's the most important night in the season. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, on the day of Ashura, after the martyrdom of all his companions, all his children, he came to bid farewell with his family. As he was about to leave to go to the battlefield, suddenly, as if his son, 6-month-old infant, was telling him, Labbaik, Dad, although I'm an infant, although I'm only 6 months old, I want to join you. I want to be a soldier in your army. I want to get killed too. The Imam goes back to the tent and he says, Ukhtah Zainab, Nawalini waladi al-radhi'. Give me my 6-month-old infant. I want to say goodbye to him. لِأُوَدَّعَهُ. So she brings Abdullah al-Radhi'. When the Imam carries him, you know, the children, the men, they could talk. They could say, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. We're thirsty, we're thirsty. With Abdullah al-Radhi', he can't talk. But his lips were parched. يَتَلَظَّى عَطَشًا. وصف امامو ببینید چقدر دقیقه. میگه این طفل من مثل یک ماهیه که از آب در اومده، اولی که از آب در میاد تکون میخوره، حرکت میکنه زیاد، اما بعداً خسته میشه، حرکتش کم میشه، به یک حدی میرسه که فقط لباشو میتونه تکون بده. این معنی یتلظی عطشا، یعنی حتی اگر بهش آب بدیم ها این میمیره، اما اقلا تشنه از این دنیا نره. حضرت این بچه رو گرفتن. He went to the battlefield. Some say he was on the back of a camel, holding the Quran in one hand and his 6-month-old infant in one hand. He said, يا قوم قد قتلتم أهلي وولدي. You killed all my companions, all my children. All I have is this 6-month-old infant. If I am a sinner, if to you I'm a sinner, I've committed a sin, then what is the sin of the 6-month-old infant? إن كان للكبار ذنب فما ذنب هذا الرضيع. If you fear that I might take the water and drink it myself, you take the baby, you quench his thirst. Look at his parched lips. You take the baby. Suddenly there was this split in the army of Umar ibn Sa'd. Some said, let's give him water. He's a child, he's a baby. Some said, no, until they all die out of thirst. Because of this dispute and split in the army, Umar ibn Sa'd looked at Harmala and he said, Harmala, put an end to this dispute. Harmala said, who should I shoot? The father or the child? He said, can't you see the whiteness of the neck of the child? Brothers and sisters, how do you deal with little children, with infants? Even if you want to give them a needle, they have special needles made for kids because their bodies are delicate, they are very sensitive. And now these arrows are not meant to be for kids. These arrows are meant to be for adults, to pierce the shield and then pierce the armor and then pierce their body. He said, shoot the baby. فَرَمَاهُ حَرْمَلَةُ بْنُ كَاهِلِ الْأَسَدِ بِسَهْمٍ فَذَبَحَهُ مِنَ الْوَرِيدِ إِلَى الْوَرِيدِ. He shot him with a 3-pronged arrow, slitting his throat from the jugular vein to the jugular vein. What did the Imam do? What did the Imam say? He said, إلهي إن كان هذا يرضيك فخذ حتى ترضى. If this pleases you, O God, take as much as you want. And then he said, هون ما نزل بي أنه بعين الله. What eases this calamity is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. Otherwise the Imam couldn't tolerate the grief and the lamentation over his child. Then the Imam covered the baby. He went to the tent, but he was hesitant. How should he return to the tent? So he came back to the battlefield again, returning to the tent. He did this several times until Sukaina came out. She said, Dad, did you quench the thirst of my brother Abdullah and you brought the rest to us? She took the baby, uncovered the baby, only to see that his head was severed. أيوا حسينا وغريبا. تیر نگذاشت که یک جمله به آخر برسد. هیچ کس حدس نمیزد که چنین سر برسد. پدرش چیز زیادی که نمیخواست فرات یک دو قطره ضرری داشت به اصغر برسد، با دو انگشت همین حنجره میشد پاره. چه نیازی به 3 شعبه است که تا پر برسد، خون حیدر به رگش در تب و تاب است، ولی بگذارید به سن علی اکبر برسد. دفن شد تا بدنش نعل نبیند، اما دست یک نیزه بر آن حلق مطهر برسد. میگن اولین شهیدی که دفن شد در روز عاشورا علی اصغر بود، اما یک دفنی که فقط 1 روز طول کشید، چون که روز بعد آمدن قبر رو کندن، جسد علی اصغر رو در آوردن، سر را بر نیزه گذاشتن، ولذا علی اصغر روی سینه آقا الان دفنه. شعله ور می شود این داغ دوباره، وقتی شیر در سینه بی کودک مادر برسد. همه صدا بزنید حسین، حسین جانم، حسین جانم. Let's recite Dua al-Faraj together and end this majlis. Allahumma kun liwaliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan salawatuka alayhi wa ala abaihi fi hadhihi وفي كل ساعة وليا وقائدا. صداتون برسه به آقا امام زمان. وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم استجب به دعاءنا. آمين بقيد. اللهم استجب به دعاءنا، اغفر به ذنوبنا، استر به عيوبنا، ارحم به موتانا، اقض به حوائجنا وحوائج المؤمنين والمؤمنات، وإلى أرواح أموات المؤمنين والمؤمنات. الفاتحة مع الصلوات.